The front door splintered, a monstrous crack echoing throughout the house. I shoved Nicole into the closet, the metal tang of the shotgun filling my mouth. My heart hammered against my ribs, each beat a frantic drum against the silence. I knew, with a chilling certainty, that whatever was on the other side of the door was coming in. The door splintered again, then crashed, then silence. All of a sudden, we heard deep thumps on the floor as it entered the house. I could hear it moving, coming through the front door. All of a sudden, I swear I could have heard its voice. Nicole's eyes mirrored my own terror, barely managing to whisper.
He's saying words.
It was a growling, wet rasp, like something being dragged across gravel. Mixed with it were these choked, almost human gasps, as if the creature was in pain, or struggling to breathe, or trying to speak. It was something like, the sounds repeated like a broken record, chilling me to the bone. It was a garbled chant, like something ancient and evil. As it moved through the front hallway, it scraped the walls. The sound was like nails scraping across a chalkboard, except 1,000 times stronger, each scrape digging deep into my brain. Then suddenly, our house went silent again. 5 minutes stretched into an eternity. Then a shriek, raw, animalistic, ripped through the silence, followed by a now familiar thunder of heavy footsteps. It was inside the house, sprinting, almost like it knew where we were. My heart was pounding. A door splintered downstairs, the basement. Then the silence came again. Suddenly, shouts erupted from below.
Police! Come out!
Relief washed over me, but a sliver of doubt lingered. Was this thing pretending to be the police? 20 minutes after my frantic 911 call, the house was swarming. The knocking on the closet door was insistent.
It's Sergeant James.
Recognition flooded me. He'd been here before, when I first reported the strange noises. He pulled the closet door open, his face grim.
Let's get you out of here.
He escorted us out, Nicole trembling beside me. Outside, the flashing lights of patrol cars painted the scene in stark blues and reds. Officers with weapons drawn surrounded the house. Only then, seeing their determined faces, did I finally dare to breathe. An ambulance waited, paramedics ready. After a quick check, Sergeant James ushered us into his car.
We're going to the station.
His voice was calm, but his eyes held a flicker of something I couldn't quite place. Even as Sergeant James hurried us out, my eyes were drawn to the carnage in the entryway. The front door was a mangled mess. Splintered wood splayed across the floor. Deep gouges, far too wide for human fingernails, clawed at the doorframe. It was something else, something more disturbing that held my gaze. A dark crimson trail began on the porch, splashed across the broken door, and snaked its way across the floor. A jagged line pointing directly to the basement door. Obviously, my first guess would be blood. I mean, it looked like blood, thick and dark, but something felt wrong. The sheer quantity of it, the unnatural way it glistened in the dim light, it didn't quite seem human. The police hadn't said a word about it, even when I pressed them. What was it? And why was it everywhere? At the station, Nicole and I huddled together, numb. The adrenaline had worn off, leaving only a bone-deep weariness and a gnawing fear. We clung to each other, the silence only broken by the occasional crying. The questioning began before dawn. Most of it was a blur, rehashing already what I've told them. But then, one detective leaned forward, his voice low.
Those marks on your door? Your walls? They weren't made by human hands.
He described them. Too deep, too wide, too precise.
We think it was something else.
They told us we couldn't go back. We ended up finding a room at a nearby hotel. Safe in the sterile quiet of the motel room, I tried to convince myself it was over. The police were in charge now. The nightmare was finally contained. Exhaustion claimed me. 2 days of terror catching up in a heavy wave. Finally, sleep. The shrill ring of my phone jolted me awake. My hand trembled as I answered. It was Detective Laird. My stomach clenched. Had they found something?
We need to talk about your house. How many exits are there?
3, I replied. Front door, back door, basement storm door, and the windows, of course.
Your house. It's surrounded by police. It has been since we arrived. But no one has seen anything leave.
He interrupted. A long silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken words. Then Laird spoke again, his voice barely a whisper.
We've searched the house, every room, every closet. There's no sign of him or it anywhere.
A cold dread crept up my spine. My breath hitched. He paused, and I could hear the strain in his voice.
We even reviewed the footage from your laptop. Every second. Over and over. Nothing. It's like it vanished.
My mind reeled. Vanished? How? Fear, raw and primal, clawed its way back to my throat. If it wasn't gone, then where was it? And a chilling thought echoed in my mind. Was it still inside of the house? Waiting?